All right, moving on to our next story. This one comes from 9 to 5 Mac, and the title here is Security Bite. Top Mac OS threat found riding the DeepSeek wave. Holy cow. So, unless you've been living under a rock, you're probably well aware that DeepSeek is a thing now. And I think it caused, if I'm not mistaken, it caused the single largest drop in stock value in the history of the stock market, at least for one company. It was like hundreds of billions of dollars from Nvidia's stock value, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So DeepSeek, the headline there was DeepSeek is this new AI model from a startup in China who trained a model, an LLM model that is arguably more effective and better at its core jobs than OpenAI's ChatGPT is, and it
And
costs
supposedly, yeah,
like 3% allegedly,
right.
3% of what ChatGPT costs to train. Now, there's a lot of stuff that has come out since then, like the fact that it appears that though they only spent 3%, some of the money was fronted by unsurprisingly by the Chinese government, and it also looks like they were in some way using information or some aspects of OpenAI's model itself. A little unclear how that works, but there it is. That's not the point of the story here. The point of the story here is that we had this brand new thing, this brand new shiny toy come out, and everybody is rushing out to want to play with it because it looks like it's amazing. All of the reporting is that it's so much better, so much more effective, so much more efficient than anything we have in the US and other parts of the world. And so we have lots of people wanting to go kick the tires, and this is the kind of thing that causes the bad guys to like lick their chops. Like they live for this sort of thing. And sure enough, some some uh some bad guys here have created a set of Mac packages that purport to be the DeepSeek LLM that you can run locally on your computer. However, it, as you might expect, is not actually that. What I found most interesting about this, I mean, other than highlighting, we often talk, especially in the context of phishing attacks, we talk about there being a common element around urgency. And when you get a phishing email or some sort of social engineering attack, it usually has some kind of artificial urgency attached to it. Your account's going to get canceled, you're going to lose your email, your boss is angry, you're trying to close a deal, whatever. There's always some aspect of urgency, and I think that there's also a similar concept around novelty.
Sure.
And so I think that this particular instance is exploiting that novelty aspect. So in addition to that, the other thing that I found most interesting is that Apple actually did a really good job of preventing attacks from stuff like this. There was an X Protect, or I forget,
Gatekeeper.
Gatekeeper. Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
That prevents unknown applications like this. What the adversary here has done is packaged up a file with some instructions for you to run this. Not only download the DMG, which contains the malicious version that can't be installed because of Gatekeeper, but it also includes a what looks to be an installer that you have to manually drag onto your terminal so that it launches a bunch of malicious bash scripts.
Getting around gatekeeper. Yeah.
to get around gatekeeper. And we've seen this
Yeah.
before. There's another on the Windows side. There's another one where the attack basically forces it forces some PowerShell stuff into your clipboard, and then the trick is that it incents you to open up a PowerShell terminal and paste the contents of your clipboard, and then it's off to the races. So kind of similar thing. But what is interesting to me is that as I think about like the totality of all of the security awareness training I've ever taken in my life, and that's been a lot from a user standpoint, that has never come up. And this
It's something not to do.
is something not to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that this is something that now we've seen it twice in the span of a couple of months. I think this is something that we've really got to raise awareness around.
Yeah. So for the record too, the malware like will grab all your commands, grab all your keychain, passwords, your credit card info, your files, crypto wallets, whatever. It's an information stealer is what it is. And it sends it all back. And in general, like I think you're onto something very interesting with the novelty. And I wonder if there's also maybe it's the same urge, but the fear of missing out on the new hotness and the new like, uh, AI is this weird land grab of knowledge share right now. And it feels like we've talked about this a ton. I won't belabor this point, but everybody and their brother feels like in the information security industry or the software industry, if they don't adopt AI, they're going to go out of business.
Oh,
and
yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's so disruptive. Like it's the definition of disruptive. And who knows? I will say I am personally very gun shy of DeepSeek because it's China based, and we've got another story that talks about some interesting aspects of this. Um, I'm going to say this as politically correct as I can. We have seen plenty of evidence that China is not shy about stealing as much information as they want, and they have a tight control over all the businesses in their country from a government level. Like I think it's every company has to be partially owned by the government, basically, and they can influence that. And China's not so much our friend in that sphere right now. So I'm very cautious about DeepSeek, personally.
Yeah, I think most countries engage in some sort of cyber espionage and whatnot, but I really feel like China has taken intellectual property theft and turned it into a industrialized endeavor.
Well, don't quote me on this, but it's my understanding that sort of the culturally, they didn't really have much the same concept of intellectual property as the West does. It just wasn't part of their culture and their ethos, and it's not a moral thing. It just wasn't like, how can you own ideas, right? And they, in fact, as I recall, and again, this is not my area of expertise, I may be butchering this, but like when they started getting into things like World Trade Organizations, they were very confused by all this intellectual property and copyright theft, and like, well, why is this a thing? As I recall, so it's just a different view of that concept, I think, culturally at times. But yeah, no, if I have staff going to China, I just assume that their systems are going to be compromised and data will be stolen and that kind of thing. Maybe that's bad, but that's how I look at it.